3 o'clock position, in the red trunks, we have our red Protoss player, and that is Complexity Minigun. Still sporting the root tag, though, which is kind of fun. His opponent over at the 9 o'clock position is Roxkus LiveZerg. He is our purple Zerg player, winning what was admittedly, even though there were some cool units, as you mentioned, a very sloppy game number 2. What?
I was just thinking of the chat response after game 2. They were displeased with the game quality.
Carrier should be allowed to burrow, says low master. Yeah. Carriers, eh? Well, what do you got?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. What do you think of the new Heart of the Swarm units?
I think they have some work to do.
Sure.
I like the direction they're going in terms of more micro-oriented.
But this
like
is
the Ultralisk ability.
This is actually something that HG and I actually have talked about this a little bit. And as we get the question on Twitter, which is your favorite unit or new ability in Heart of the Swarm? That's kind of amusing. We'll see who that was in a second. But
his last name is Bond.
I see that.
Bond.
Yes, we'll need to see the first part in a second. The screen's kind of covered up. But I like that they're going towards a more micro-oriented game, but I kind of agree with HT when he says it seems very forced micro through casters rather than natural micro through drop play and stuff like that, like you would see, Reaver drops in Brood War, things like that.
Yes and no. I don't think casters are necessarily a bad decision to have. Because they're definitely a pure micro unit.
Sure.
And in a game that's relatively macro heavy as it is right now, adding more pure micro might not be the worst thing ever.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of crazy stuff that people can do right now that's probably gonna have to be toned down.
Like sending a probe out at the very beginning of the game, building a 900 HP assimilator, and sticking a cannon on the top and destroying half your opponent's worker line.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, a lot of stuff I think a lot of it was just because it's super new. People don't know how to deal with it. I played the beta at BlizzCon, and I definitely had a lot of fun with these shredders.
Yeah, well, shredder drops are actually ridiculous, as we saw in the video. But
they were fairly fun. But, if you look at anything in... Is there anything going on?
Spieling build right now for LiveZerg, and Minigun opening with the same thing that he's done the past couple of games, exact same gas timing, so he's pretty standard
stuff.
Yes.
It is interesting he is not expoed yet, but it looks like he's got 300 minerals now and no gas, so it looks like he is putting it down right now. Perfect.
Same timing he's had over the past couple of games, though, as he did decide to go for that speed first.
Yep, exactly. And again, if you look at any race just by itself, every race is overpowered, and every race complains about the other races being overpowered. It's
true.
So that indicates a sense of balance.
Yes.
In some ways. It's not like, obviously, you can't be like, well, clearly it's balanced, but...
No, because obviously right now the Korean Terrans have pretty much figured out things pretty well, and I'm a Terran player, so, and even I'm the first to admit that Terran is actually incredibly strong still. Whether that's due to players not exploring every unit at their ability or every strategy, because don't forget, this is still a young game, even over a year in. We're still figuring out things. Don't forget that people didn't even worry about Hellions, but yet Blue Flame Hellion timings have been available since day number 1. And it took a year and 2 months for them to get to the point where they were like, wow, these are actually super good. And then they had to be nerfed after that. So we're still figuring things out.
I like how you called them good instead of abusive.
Yeah. They were abusive, actually. It's true. I don't discredit that.
So
once again, though, look at this. LiveZerg actually going after Mass Ling to try and deny the 1 Gate Expo, or I'm sorry, 2 Gate Expo. Mm-hmm. Never mind, Dirty Liar, 3-Gate Expo. I'm just playing the role of the Count. Don't judge me.
Do you feel like he did this change because of what happened last game?
He did the same thing last game, though, too.
But I don't think it's not going to matter. He doesn't have enough troops to
No, there's no way.
Cancel.
So this is
cancel!
Who canceled that time? Yay, Chad! This is reminiscent to me of almost what Kiwikaki does now against Zerg players, which is going for that double chrono boosted Zealots after the Forge Fast expand, because you're basically a guaranteed deny on an opponent's third. And that's what this Speedling build from LiveZerg feels like to me. You're a guaranteed deny on a fast expanding Protoss player.
Exactly. And it's ridiculously frustrating, and actually it goes back to the very first game we cast, where we're talking about how it mentally disrupts you.
Yeah.
When you've got your plan in mind, you're like, okay, I'm going to make my Nexus right now, and you make it, and then you see 40, 30, 20, whatever many Zerglings there were, X amount of Zerglings run in and deny it. It's like, it's very frustrating to deal with, especially because when you go this sentry heavy early on, you can't do anything about it. You can't move down, and if you try to move down, they're going to try to run around and surround you. It's a very nerve-wracking opening.
Oh, dude, a Zerg player any day of the week would throw away 8 lings to kill 2 or 3 sentries and force 400 energy worth of force fields out any day of the week.
Yeah, 100%. And I've definitely lost games because you get frustrated and you try to save your Nexus and you end up getting surrounded. And a lot of times, really good players will actually bait you into doing that. They only send in like 8 lings. They have another like 10 waiting. You move down and they just come in. I'm not gonna use the Destiny term for it.
No, I understand.
But
no, it's okay. I believe HD called it that yesterday.
I've definitely fallen for it. I've definitely been that guy.
Yep. And it's weird. I've been noticing out of LiveZerg's play though, he's very. I'm not calling him mechanical in the sense that he has great mechanics. He does. I'm not trying to deny that. But what I'm saying is that he's like, I am building units now. Now I am building workers. Now it is units. Like he has very defined production cycles, and his timings worked out to a T because all of a sudden he'll just. He'll either go from one extreme to the other. He doesn't really mix in a few workers as he's producing some units. It's either one side or the other, depending on what he feels is right.
That's definitely actually a result of how he trained, and he was definitely the mass ladder champion for about 6-8 months. Mm-hmm. He was like one of the people who just did nothing but ladder. And early on, he found that a lot of times he was cutting probes because he wasn't paying attention to that part of the cycle. So in his training, I don't know if he likes me saying this, but I know it, where he actually segmented out his training where he had to constantly remind himself to make things. So he would do that. He would go production, check on army, workers, check on army, building, check on army, where he would like go in like this circle, and that's why it's so segmented out.
And
but he's doing a push here. He's going to meet a wall of spine crawlers. That's not going to work out too well for him. But he could deny this third here. It depends on how many speedlings are out, but he's got a good chunk of zealots. Is he going to go for the counter?
Oh, it looks like he may very well. That does get canceled, so LiveZerg has quite a bit of resources, actually. Should try expanding to the top left-hand corner here in a bit.
If he gets sandwiched against this wall here, this could be rough.
Okay, so a lot of lings do get in, but I will say Minigun did a good job of making sure that he focus fired the units that were in his general vicinity, and actually isn't taking that much damage from the lings themselves. Now, these spine crawlers are another matter altogether, though I will say he has started to chew through those quite effectively as well. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't think that LiveZerg was going to outright crush that army convincingly, but I did think he was going to do a lot more damage and trade efficiently.
Yeah, he still has the vast majority of his sentries still alive. A lot of them have full energy. He's definitely fine here. Those 2 spine crawlers, one of them is almost dead. He's going to take out the pylon, though. The reinforcing pylon is dead, and he just made a ridiculous amount of...
Yeah, that's not the most efficient use of his money, and unfortunately.
Chad can no longer reinforce, though. He can no longer reinforce because he took out his reinforcing pylon. And these are
he does have another one up there, though, so it's not too far away. Yeah. So the spine crawlers actually are going to hold all these units at bay, but not before 11 workers have gone down, and the vast majority of LiveZerg's forces. I mean, let's take a look at it. He's half the supply.
Yep.
I mean,
wow, that was impressive. I did not expect that to do actually quite as much damage as it did. It felt like he probably... there was definitely a delay between the first and second attack.
Yeah.
He should have put up the spine crawlers earlier.
Yeah, I definitely agree. A bunch more workers have already fallen, though. Now up to 21 workers killed. My God. 25 workers to 57. I don't care if you have a 7 spine crawler wall. Minigun, the onus is on LiveZerg to try and get something done, because Minigun can actually just sit back, build 2 bases, amass a 200 supply army, and just...
+1 air attack.
Oh, Spire just finished up, so...
With no mutalisks.
Nothing on the ground? No.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Well, I guess,
Spinecrawler feels alone.
He's taking his third.
It's positive.
However, Minigun's just going to take the third at the gold and still be way ahead. He's going to have to get some brilliant... I think Mulus is probably the right choice at this point.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Just just because you have to try. Like, you have to try something.
Right.
You can't,
Minigun doesn't feel forced to go Robo. He doesn't feel forced to... he is going to go Blink Stalker, though, which is going to be a direct counter to any sort of airplay that's out there.
Well, you would think it's a direct... It's actually not as much of a direct counter as you might think.
Well, compared to what? Transition into Stargate? Or...
Well, with the...
I'm saying as far as what Minigun has as reasonable options at this point. Like, if he would have decided to go Colossus right now, the Mutas would have been just that much more effective.
Exactly.
But because he did decide to go Blink... I'm sorry, that's the point I was trying to make. I wasn't very clear.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. So, but it definitely is interesting. When a lot of people see Blink Stalkers, they're like, oh, well, Mutalisks are kind of invalidated. But really, with how the Protest person has to build his base, where he's building it out in steps and making sure it's like Ling-proof, watertight, it really restricts the mobility of the Stalkers. And after one Blink, and Stalkers do not do that much damage to Mutas.
Yeah.
So you can definitely escape Stalkers and do a lot of good harassment.
Sure.
Protest players tend to have a lot of buildings laying on like the edges of things where you can snipe them. So I should probably stop telling people to go Mutas because now I'm not going to want to.
Dark Shrine, lol. Minigun actually going for... Now, usually this is the catch-up tactic for a lot of people, but he will be able to effectively utilize those in his army composition if he, makes DTs, and then if they don't prove to be terribly successful, he can turn right around and go ahead and make those into Archons. As that Dark Shrine is about to finish up here, and he still has that reinforcing pylon pretty darn close. So we'll see what DTs actually get warped in here in just a second. Oh, wow! Preemptive Spore Crawler going down, though. So, looks like Mr. LiveZerg is actually going to be pretty well prepared for that.
I mean, you just got to wonder here if is Minigun just going to try to let him, attack into him, or is he gonna try to do some attack timing around 180 food or something like that?
Oh my God! If he actually gets through just before.
Oh my goodness!
One goes down, but another one makes it into the main, and there's nothing that LiveZerg can do about that. He doesn't have an Overseer. Nope, he does not. So this DT is actually going to cleave through quite a few workers. And
Minigun sees the Mutalist, so he's going to be more than prepared. Not that it's going to matter. I think at this point he's just going to attack and kill him.
And here it comes. Minigun going to attack his way right through the front. There are a few spine crawlers up, but not all that much, really. And there's the Guardian Shield. There's only a few Mutalisks in the air, and that's really the only army for LiveZerg at the moment. And he's going to have to use everything he's got just to push through these units. The wall of spine crawlers is dissipating. There's not too many units behind this. The Mutalisks are pulling back as 8-lings get made. That is the savior for LiveZerg. 8-lings go! And those Archons wrecking everything in the front, dealing out splash damage as well.
Yep.
They finally go down, but there are so many Blink Stalkers at the back end. Still, Guardian Shields left over to prevent any sort of range damage. And there's
the GG.
Is the GG.